Hello, this is George Hutton, and you are listening to the Mind Persuasion podcast. Today we continue our study of the Milton model, otherwise known as covert and conversational hypnosis. Our first pattern today is called Truisms about sensations and time. A truism is a vague statement that is true according to almost everybody. For example, education is important. Freedom is necessary. Positive relationships are beneficial. When you say things like this, people will quickly agree without needing to think too much. When you make statements about sensations and time, people will need to check their own experience to make sure it is true for them, and this does a couple of things. First, they will check their own history and make sure that it's true, thereby using their own experience to verify your statements. This will create a great deal of rapport. Second, by checking their memory to verify your statements, they will actually enter that particular state a little bit. For example, if you said, "Most people can remember being completely and absolutely relaxed," they will check their history and see if it's true by remembering the last time they were completely and absolutely relaxed. And just by doing this, they will become a little bit more relaxed. You can also use this for excited, happy, curious, resourceful, or any other positive state you'd like them to access. Statements of time work the same way. They are trance-like in that they require the listener to go inside and verify that they are true for them personally. For example, it takes time to learn a new skill thoroughly. In order to make sure this is true, they will have to go inside and find a time that they learned a new skill and that it took time. Even if it only took them a few hours, the learning didn't happen instantaneously. So their experience will verify that your statement is true. They will also remember learning a new skill, and this will put them in a more resourceful state. A great way to use these patterns is to use the truism of time or sensation statement, and then make it personal to your listener. That is, talk about them personally experiencing that truth in a unique way, and then follow that up with either a complex equivalent or a cause-effect pattern to lead them into a new direction. For example, many people can remember what it's like to be extremely curious. It's like a natural human emotion. And I'm sure you have your own memories of being curious yourself. And I don't mean curious for curiosity's sake. I mean a time when you just had to find something out, and you wouldn't rest until you did. Because you can remember that now, you are likely a lot more prepared than most to get some massive and lasting benefits from our personal learning programs. Most people have heard something, they find this really, really fascinating and beneficial. And as you listen to these words now and remember what that's like, you can imagine how much you can help others by practicing these patterns every day. Our next pattern is called single binds. This is similar to the cause-effect or the complex equivalent patterns in that it links two ideas. In the single bind, however, the two ideas are linked only to each other. For example, if I used the cause and effect pattern to say that if you exercise, then you will lose weight, this implies that exercise isn't the only thing that will cause you to lose weight, and weight loss isn't the only thing that results from exercise. With a single bind, you link two ideas in such a way that they are only linked to each other. Doing one will necessarily cause the other, and the other is only the cause of the first. They generally take one of four different forms. X and Y are in the form of present tense verb phrases, like study the Milton model or realize your power or understand these concepts. The more you X, the more you will Y. The more you X, the less you will Y. The less you X, the less you will Y. The less you X, the more you will Y. You can also use comparative adjectives instead of the more you X. For example, the easier you X, the happier you'll feel. The sooner you X, the quicker you'll Y. Of course, anytime you are referring to doing less of something, make sure that it's something where doing less is preferable, like standing in line at the post office. For example, the more you realize your potential, the sooner you'll start to discover that you are using these patterns on a daily basis. The sooner you realize that the Milton model is the easiest and most powerful way to persuade others, the easier it will be to get the things you want out of life while helping others as well. The quicker you start to see opportunities for these patterns all around you, the more profitable you'll naturally become. You can also use this pattern to sneak an idea past your listener's conscious critic by putting an extremely desirable idea in the Y end of the phrase, and then put the idea you'd like to persuade your listener of in the X side. The sooner you realize that mindpersuasion.com is the best website in the world, the easier it will be for you to learn powerful techniques here that will allow you to easily persuade others to happily give you whatever you want. The more you appreciate your own potential, the quicker you'll find ways to express it in ways you've never thought of before. Our next pattern is called I'm not going to tell you. When you say I'm not going to tell you, the listener goes into a quick mini trance. Since you say you aren't going to tell them anything, their mind switches off its conscious critic or judge of what is being said. Whenever we are listening to somebody speak, unless it's a close friend or a family member, we are at least on some level questioning everything they say to make sure it's valid and not dangerous. This usually happens subconsciously, and when people are violating any imagined safety, we usually get a sketchy feeling when speaking with them. When you say I'm not going to tell you, however, the implication is that it is completely up to the listener to accept or reject the next idea. That takes the pressure off, and the listener switches into kind of a what-if thinking that allows them to consider other possibilities. Some examples. I'm not going to tell you to participate in this investment seminar. I'm not going to tell you to lose weight with exercise. I'm not going to tell you to practice these patterns on a regular basis with all your friends and watch in amazement at what happens. You can also follow up your statement with many other language patterns. For example, you can talk about some other people that have decided to take your suggested course of action and have had a fantastic result. I'm not going to tell you to exercise to lose weight, even though many people have found that exercise really is the best way to lose weight. And they've saved a lot of stress and money over goofy diet programs and herbal remedies that don't work. In the end, it's your decision to decide whether or not you're going to lose weight. I'm not going to tell you to enroll in our online investment seminar until you are absolutely ready. Most of the tens of thousands of people who have made a considerable amount of money through our systems also needed some time to decide whether or not this is the right investment plan for you. Our next pattern is called compound suggestions. This pattern is a great way to sneak a suggestion past the conscious critic of your listener, so they automatically take it as true without question. The way to construct this is to make a statement either by itself or set up with one or more other language patterns, and then follow it up with a statement that is going to be automatically perceived as true. These true statements can be general truths, specific truths about the listener that you've already verified, or tag questions. While the listener is unconsciously pondering the first suggestion, you quickly make the second, obviously true statement. The truth of that second statement will kind of bleed over to the first statement and make it much easier for the listener to accept as true. Some examples. Exercise is the best way to lose weight, and staying healthy is important. Here, exercise is the best way to lose weight is the persuasive message, while staying healthy is important is the general truth. Dollar cost averaging is the best way to make money in the stock market, and having enough money is very important. The persuasive idea dollar cost averaging is the best way to make money in the stock market is followed by the general truth of having enough money is important. To make this even more powerful, you can dress up your persuasive statements with as many other language patterns as you like, just so long as you finish your statement with something that is true. So we'll go back to the exercise is the best way to lose weight example. Many people have discovered that exercise is the best way to lose weight, not only because it's the most effective, but also because you don't have to worry so much about counting calories or any other of that stuff. And being in shape is really important. Expert money managers that have been around for a long time keep coming back again and again to the simple truth that basic dollar cost averaging is the best and easiest way to make money in the stock market. And having enough money in your future is important, isn't it? People who make the decision to study language patterns have found that it is not only a lot easier to make money, but also to create new relationships with nearly anybody. And relationships are important, aren't they? Starting a habit of studying these language patterns every day will help make them part of your unconscious speaking strategy. The more you practice these patterns, the more naturally persuasive and seductive you'll be without even trying. And saving brain energy is important, isn't it? Deciding to read self-development books is a great way to continue to improve your skills, particularly with all the language patterns you can find here. This can easily give you an edge in business and in romance. And we need all the advantages we can get, can't we? I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. I look forward to speaking to you again.